Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes. Now, it's been floated around that there is the possibility of a taxi tax or a cabbie tax, call it what you will. And it's going to apply to private hire carriages. It does not, incidentally, it will not apply to hackney carriages. They're operated completely separately. And they have already got very high licensing costs anyway. Being a hackney taxi, a hackney cab, is completely different. But for general sort of private hire cars, you know, the sort of things you get, we get a taxi on a Friday night to go to the pub or something, they will be subjected to this tax, VAT, 20%. A consortium from all over the country of 59 private hire operators have written to Rachel Reeves, and they've spelled out that this is going to be a disaster. They say, one, it will mean for some people the price of a taxi will be beyond their means, such as, for example, pensioners or those on limited or modest incomes, who may well need to get a taxi from time to time, but will find it's virtually impossible. They say it will damage the nighttime economy. Indeed it will. And that it will be a burden and more bureaucracy on an industry and a sector that already has massive costs, and that taxi drivers themselves are not well paid. I think they're also missing two other things that they ought to have said. Number one, it would likely increase the likelihood of drink driving, because people think, well, I can't really afford a taxi now, and they'll risk it, which could then also mean an increase in deaths and injuries. And secondly, you've got to remember how many local authorities use taxis for ferrying people around, children to school, or people to things like, centres where, care centres and things like that. It would disproportionately affect councils by quite some considerable amount. There's two more than what the taxi drivers are saying. I think they've missed the trick on those. And I think, yes, it isn't a luxury. Taking a taxi is not a luxury. VAT was meant to be a luxury tax. But for some, it's not a luxury, it's a lifeline. So, she's going to tax switching light bulbs on and off, isn't she? She's going to have a switch tax. She'll have a breathing tax, a beard tax, window tax, roof tax, poll tax, upper poll tax. I mean, honestly, if you've got an arsehole, you pay. If you've got half an arse, you pay twice. It's getting that bad. She's running out of things to tax. And the thing is, it doesn't really matter, because the more tax she applies, the less money she gets. Because the woman's a moron. But this taxi tax, I'm actually going with this one. I'm going to say it is wrong for so many different reasons. And I'm not even a fan of taxi drivers here. I'm just saying that their arguments are right. They were just incomplete. There's probably even more arguments than I've discussed here. But let me know down in the comments what your views on this are, or if you've got any arguments against it. Can't see any. Let me know. Thanks a lot. Bye.